Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from Return of the Fan, and today we're going to look at an article on Bounding into Comics about Babylon 5. So I was an absolute huge, or I am an absolute huge Babylon 5 fan. Saw it when it came on TV, when I was a young person, and just absolutely blew me away. It was one of the best sci-fi series on TV, along with Star Trek as well. Um, And if you've never seen the actual original Babylon 5 show, I highly recommend it. Go and watch it, however you can get it on the internet. It's just brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, and the stories are absolutely amazing. Well, of course, you'll get some episodes which aren't as good as other ones, but on the whole, on average, the story and episodes are amazing. I mean, you get things like certain things being set up in previous seasons, and then a couple of seasons later you get the payoff from those things that were set up. It was just amazing. So you really need to see this. If you're a sci-fi fan, you've never seen Babylon 5 before, you won't regret it. So let's have a look about what this article goes into. So J. Michael Stracynski, who was the original writer for the show, confirmed Babylon 5 reboot in development for the CW. I can see you turning up your nose already. Just hear me out. It could be good. Even though the CW is synonymous with woke, intersectional feminist trash shows like Batwoman and so on, that mostly comes down to the writing. If the writing is bad, then the show is going to be bad. But I believe that J. Michael Stracynski, who's the original writer, is actually going to be writing the new reboot. So it's not a continuation, so that's kind of good. It's going to be a reboot, so it's not going to touch the original universe of Babylon 5. So J. Michael Stracynski has confirmed that a reboot is currently in the works at the CW. So CW is a collaboration between CBS and Warner Brothers, so that's where you get the CW from. News of Babylon 5's reboot's existence was first reported on Variety, who reported on the morning of September 27th that they had learned that a from the ground up reboot, so from the ground up basically right from the start of the series, was in the works from Stracynski and Warner Brothers Television, the studio that produced the original series. So it sounds like they're going to put it on CW, but it's going to be produced by Stracynski and Warner Brothers. Though the details of the reboot were scarce, the trade outlet could confirm that at this time none of the original series stars are attached to the project, because the series was done a long time ago, so obviously a lot of the actors are now pretty old. Unfortunately, Delenn, the person who played that, passed away very sadly. I think Mira Furlan was her name. She was amazing. Really enjoyed her character, so it's sad that she passed away, but obviously can't bring her back either. Unsurprisingly, yes, of course, the news caused a massive buzz across social media, with some fans excited for more Babylon 5 and others afraid the new series would suffer from the same problems that plague such similar reboots or continuing series as Star Trek Discovery. Now, the problem with Star Trek Discovery, Batwoman, and so on is they just have poor writers who don't know how to write things correctly, and put through all their relevant, up-to-date, real-life trash, which is not what we want. Although there's some things to be worried about from some of Stracynski's comments, which we'll get into in a minute. So much so that in fact, the said buzz eventually prompted Stracynski himself to take to Twitter and confirm, to answer all the questions, yes, it's true, Babylon 5 is in active development as a series for the CW. We have some serious fans over the network and they're eager to see this show happen, he added. I'm hip deep into writing the pilot now and will be running this series upon pickup. So that's good. He's writing and he's also going to be a showrunner, which will be awesome news. So I'm quite heartened by that. Stracynski then explained the network understands the uniqueness of Babylon 5 and is giving me a great deal of latitude with the storytelling, as noted in the announcement that this is a reboot from the ground up rather than a continuation for several reasons. So that's quite good, that it seems like the studio is not forcing his hand to do things in certain ways. They're going to let him write the show as he sees fit, which is giving me some hope that this will actually be good. I'm quite interested in seeing a reboot, but as long as we don't get any of this, it has to be relevant for the current day, and it must be diverse, and and whatever. You can have diverse characters and so on, but just write them good so that their diversity doesn't come into the plotline. They should just happen naturally, right? That's what we're looking for. There should not be any forced things about the characters which brings their race and their gender and their sexuality or whatever into the story. It should just be a natural thing, and we shouldn't really notice it. That's how you would write a good character, and hopefully J. Michael Stracynski will actually do that. But there's a couple of things later on which gives me a little bit of pause. So it just talks about why it's going to be different. Basically, you don't want to do the same thing that you did last time. It needs to be something different, which is kind of good. We don't want the same thing again. So how would it use all the storytelling tools and technological resources available in 2021 that were not on hand then? He posited, how can it be used to reflect the world in which we live and the questions we are asking and confronting every day? Fans regularly point out how prescient the show was and is of our current world. It will be fun to take a shot at looking further down the road. So that gives me a little bit pause to thought. The fact that he wants to reflect the world in which we currently live and the questions we're asking and confronting every day. That's not what we want, right? We can see the world in current day by just looking at the news and turning on our TV news and looking at our window and actively participating in the world. We already have that kind of stuff, right? We don't want that. What we want to do is have some escapism and what the world will be like where we didn't have to worry about these current things that we're dealing with in our current lives in terms of wokeness, far left ideology, the COVID-19 situation, all that kind of stuff. We don't need that in the storyline. Right, we just want good stories about the future, which doesn't take into account current day, because once current day changes, then the show is no longer relevant for anyone else later on. That's the really cool thing about the original series of Babylon 5. It didn't really go into too much about current day politics and so on. Kind of took some themes about it, but it pushed it into what would happen in the future, in the far future. And so the show is not dated. Anyone can go into that world and enjoy what's in that world, right? So this kind of gives me a little bit of pause, but I'm hoping that it's not going to be how a lot of the shows in the CW has actually gone down. So he just talks about how he would do it. So better to go the way of Westfield or Battlestar Galactica. We take the original elements that are evergreens and put them in a blender with a ton of new challenging ideas to create something fresh yet familiar. So yeah, that's kind of quite good. I've never watched Westfield, wasn't a fan, but I have been going through the new Battlestar Galactica, and actually I found that quite good. Again, there are some episodes which are not as good as other ones. But I've been quite enjoying the new Battlestar Galactica. I really enjoyed the original one because I was a young kid back then and really enjoyed sci-fi. Whatever I could get back then was awesome. And so yeah, Battlestar Galactica was one of my favourite series as well back then. And the new one is pretty good. And they did things like change the gender of Starbuck, but they didn't make a big song and dance about it, right? It was just a female, and they wrote a really good character around that particular person, so I didn't have any problem with that particular gender change for Starbuck. Let's carry on. He just talks about how could you do the story without the original characters and so on, so it has to be different. So the original Babylon 5 was ridiculously innovative, the first use of CGI to create ships and characters, and among the very first to shoot widescreen with a vigorous 5.1 mix, recalled the writer. So yeah, back when the original series came out, it was just stunning, right? The CGI was absolutely stunning. We'd never seen anything like that kind of before. And it's quite interesting that the CGI was actually done using Commodore Amiga computers. I don't know if you ever heard of the Commodore Amiga before, but it was a very groundbreaking computer at the time. PCs were limited to kind of 256 colors, whereas the Commodore Amiga could have 4,096 different colors on screen at once, out of a total of 16 million colors to choose from. So in terms of graphics and things, it was an amazing computer. I actually owned one, played lots of games on the Commodore Amiga. It was one of my favorite computers. I went the Commodore Amiga route rather than going Atari or PC. But it didn't take off because once PC took a stranglehold in the business area, it just turned into a juggernaut. And then Commodore actually made a whole bunch of missteps in marketing the Commodore Amiga and so on, so it died away. But yeah, Babylon 5 was originally, all the CGI and stuff was done using Commodore Amigas because they had just so much better graphics than the PC had at the time. Alright, so let's carry on. What else does he talk about? Concluding his thread, Stracynski took a moment to note how supportive and enthusiastic everyone at the CW has been and is being with this project, so I just hope they don't destroy it. They understand the unique position Babylon 5 occupies in both television and with its legion of fans, and doing everything they can to ensure the maximum and creative freedom, a new story that will bring in new viewers while honouring all that has come before. So that really does give me some hope, right? You want to honour what's been done before, but do something different, and bring in the original fans as well as new fans as well. So that's how these legacy series should be done and not be destroyed. So that's that particular thing. Again, just a bolt out of the blue as I was perusing articles on the internet. Just came across this one. I knew I had to make a video on this because Babylon 5 has been one of my favorite series. And let's just hope, cross our fingers, that J. Michael Stracynski can produce an amazing series again and bring the universe to life again, but just done slightly differently. So what do you think about the reboot of Babylon 5 coming? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Let me know in your comments. I'd love to converse with you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to give it a thumbs down. I don't mind. It's all good constructive feedback for me. And if you like my content, please give me a subscription because it helps the YouTube algorithm promote my videos more, which would be awesome. And hopefully I will catch you in the next recording, or the next episode. So catch you next time.